About traveling security. You know, I just came back from a long trip to Africa, and one of the guys on my team ended up carrying this suitcase, and he lost a lot of stuff out of it. In fact, he lost the entire suit bag. But anyway, how did that happen? Let's take a look at this. We all know that these TSA locks, well, they're easy to pick. They're pieces of garbage. But there's actually a faster way. It's pretty common in Africa, and I think they all, the baggage handlers know this technique. What they do, they don't even mess with it. You can put a Trioving on there, and it will make a bit of difference. All they're going to do, they're going to take everything. You think it secures it, but they're going to move everything off to the side, like that. They're going to take a ballpoint pen, and they're simply going to put it on the seam, and they're going to basically disconnect the zipper. And once they've done that, they can undo the entire suitcase, and bam, you're open. You can reach in there and pull out the hand grenades or whatever you happen to have in it. And then when they're finished ripping you off, so they steal your hand grenades, close the suitcase, and then they grab the original zipper. If I can get it to cooperate. And they reseal your suitcase. And then they put the lock back exactly where it was, and again, it's secure. So they've been in, and they've been out, and they've stolen all your valuables. So, how do you protect yourself? Well, you don't use one of these suitcases, first of all. Instead, you might opt for something like this. This is a small version. I've got bigger ones. But these do have locking hasps, and you can put basically anything you want on there. You can put a Trioving on it if you want to. In fact, I happen to have one right there. You can put any lock you want on these suitcases and secure them. And a lot of guys think, well, you're not allowed to take these through the airport. You have to use TSA locks. And you know what? That's absolutely not true. You can put any lock you want on there, and when you check your bag, you simply wait until they run it through the machine, and then if they want to open it, you provide them with the key, and if they don't want to open it, they'll wave you to go ahead, and they'll leave the high security locks on your hard-sided suitcase, and nobody, not even in Africa, will be able to break into this thing and steal your valuables. So, fellas, there you go. How to travel safely. Hanyan, but I've seen a lot of these locks. They're all identical. They just have a different name stenciled right there. So there's probably one company that makes them all. Pretty nice lock. You can't shim it. There is a pin here, but you can't drive it out. It's punched in that way, and you have to destroy it. So it's a pretty hefty lock. Not too bad at all. It's got ball bearing inside of it, so you really can't shim it. The shackle, I don't know if it's hardened or not, but for locking up gym lockers and things, it's probably perfectly adequate. These come preset for all zeros, so you just line up all zeros, and then comes right open. Now, here's the funny part. If you want to reset this, and obviously you will, the instructions are right there, very clearly written in Chinese. But if you don't read Chinese, that's all right. All you do, you take the end of it and you rotate it 90 degrees, and then you set the combination you want. Let's say we want, I don't know, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7. So 5, 7, 9, oops, and then we take a 5, and then 7. So 5, 7, 9, 5, 7. Once you get what you want, you rotate that back, and then that's your new combination. Pretty easy stuff. Go back all zeros, and she's not opening. And that's the way it's supposed to work. All right, let's talk about picking it. It's not so difficult to pick. It works like any bicycle lock. All you need to do is apply tension to the shackle, and when you apply tension to the shackle, it'll put pressure on the locking ball bearing, which in turn puts pressure on these discs, causing one or more of them to bind up. And you have to put quite a significant amount of pressure. And once you've done that, you find the binding disc, then you turn it until you sense and you feel that you have the right number. And by the way, the lock will tell you when you've got the right number. Let's go ahead and put this in the safe, and I'll show you exactly how to do that and how easy it is to pick through these 5-digit combination locks. All right, I got this thing tied up in a vise. It's actually hanging on another padlock, but that's to simulate a door or, a hasp or a chain on a bicycle or something. What I want to do is take my left hand. I'm going to push down on the body. You could do it from the bottom, but that's a little bit awkward on camera. So I'm just going to push down. And when I do that, I'm placing tension on the shackle, which is binding up one or more of these discs. And the way we figure it out is we just go disc to disc, and you just click them, and you figure out which one has a little bit of binding. Now 2 is binding. Let's see if anybody else. 3 is okay. 4's got binding. Yeah, 4 is binding, and 5 is free. So 2 and 4. Let's begin with 2. So let's just go one number at a time. If I can get my fingernail in there. And you just keep rotating until you feel that shackle fall into the gate. And it just did. I don't know if you saw that, but it literally will jerk as it hits. Now here's the funny part. The lock will confirm that you're on the right number. And the way it confirms it is, you notice that it goes half a click in either direction and actually holds there. If it's on any other number, it won't do that. It only does it once you get inside of the gate. So that confirms that 7, in this case, is the right number. Now let's find the next binder. That one is free. That one is free. That one is really binding. So we're going to take disc number 4. I'll go down so you can see what we're doing. My thumb won't get in your way. Okay. Now we need to watch it. It'll fall into the gate when we get to the right number. And there we go. Again, let's confirm it. And we get a click either way, and it locks in place. Now, for any other number, it doesn't do that. So let's put it back on 5. So it does confirm, so that 5 is the second number. Now let's find the next binder. Okay, he's okay. That one is really binding. And as it happens, I just fell into the gate. Again, it doesn't happen anywhere else. It only happens when it pops into the gate. There. Half click in either direction, we got the right number. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's start here. Now this one is finally binding. So let's rotate him. And he's really binding. I'm going to let up on the pressure a little bit. There we go. And just click until we fall into a gate. And there we go. There's the confirmation. It clicks in both ways. And nowhere else on the combination does it do that. So half click in either direction, and we're there. And of course, we're on the last one. Since you knew all those are right, you can really let up on your tension and just kind of roll it. And when you get to the right number, she's just going to pop open for you. So these are not bad. There's some delay mechanism or delay added by adding that last digit. Pretty nice lock. They're not really that difficult to pick. Here's what the bitting looks like on this one. So you got a pretty challenging bitting, but even so, it's only 5 pins. It contains, I believe it's probably 1 standard pin, and then 4 spools for a total of 5 pins. So as I said, not too difficult to pick. And just to prove it, let's see if we can't get it to cooperate here. Okay, we got a fault set. A little feedback. I can get on him. Hardest part is this little bitty keyway. We got a good fault set going. Deep fault set. If I can get the feedback on that first pin there, if I can just get on him, I think we can get this thing done. Anyway, not that hard to pick, as you see. Well, that's not what Adrian's theory is all about. He wants to defeat this lock in a different way. These locks are rekeyable, which means you can replace the cylinder. And the way you do that, you just take a feeler gauge, and Adrian did a video on this, so if you don't get it here, you can go watch his video. Jam it down in there, and then at that point, you jiggle a little bit, and the core pops out like that. If we could remove this core somehow, then we could take a large screwdriver, if this thing was locked up, and then we could stick it in there and we could just turn it and open it. So as you see, it opens right up. The trick is going to be getting past this core because it's got a really good locking mechanism and it fits into the side of this, let me take this lock out, this little groove in the side of this, what appears to be a steel housing, when in fact, Adrian tells me this is made out of cast zinc. Now zinc, for you guys that haven't had science in quite a while like me, I had to look it up, and tells me zinc has a melting temperature of 400 degrees centigrade, or that's 787 degrees Fahrenheit. So theoretically, while this is in place, if we can melt this housing with a torch, which we're going to try to do, take a pair of pliers, remove the brass, which has a higher melting temperature, and get it out of our way, and all this part will be molten, either on the ground or pooled up in the bottom, then we can just take our screwdriver, stick it in there, and wham bam, this baby's open. So why don't we go ahead and clamp this thing up, get some goggles and gloves, fire up a torch, and see if we can melt this piece of zinc and defeat this lock. Alright, the first thing we're going to try is this hand torch, commonly available, easily carried around by a criminal or concealed, well, kind of if you got large pockets. And this is, they call it Bernzomatic, and that's just a trade name. It has nothing but just regular butane, propane inside of there. It burns about, from research I've done, about 3,200 degrees. So theoretically, 3,200 degrees, and the zinc is going to melt at 787 degrees. This propane ought to do the trick. So let's see what happens. Alright, got everything clamped up in there. Lock still works. We're not going to be needing that anymore, I hope. And let's see if we can burn this thing. Alright, starting to melt there on the left side. Pry that thing out of there. Open. Alright, Adrian, looks like your idea does work. Let me turn this torch off. This thing's loud. With nothing more than a propane torch, and I haven't looked at the time, but